Oral questions. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
New information revealed in the tapes last week proved that the Prime Minister has not been telling the truth. The Prime Minister not only had the knowledge about the pressure being applied on the former Attorney General, but he and his office were in fact orchestrating it. Wow. As the clerk said, the Prime Minister wanted his way and he was going to get it. Now, I know I'm not allowed to say that the Prime Minister lied, so my question is this. Why did the Prime Minister give deceitful and false information to Canadians regarding the pressure he and his office applied to the former Attorney General?
The Honourable Opposition House Leader knows that you can't do indirectly what you can't do directly, so I'd ask her to be careful with that. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, it's important that Canadians be reminded that the Prime Minister gave unprecedented access to the former Attorney General. He waived sister-client privilege as well as cabinet confidence. It's also important to note that the Prime Minister has taken responsibility for the breakdown of communication within his office as well as with the clerk of the Privy Council. It's important to note that the Justice Committee looked at this matter for over 5 weeks. They actually held meetings in public so that Canadians could hear. And it's also important to note that the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner is currently studying this matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Opposition House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are not buying the ever-changing saga that the Prime Minister is trying to peddle. First of all, he said there's nothing to see here. All allegations are false. Then second, we all heard it's Scott Bryson's fault. Yep. And now the blame is being placed and was placed on the former Attorney General. It was all her fault for not saying no loudly and clearly enough to the Prime Minister. When we heard the tapes and all of us heard, she said no to the Prime Minister. So why does the Prime Minister just stop telling us just his perspective and tell us the truth?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives will continue pointing fingers and trying to divide Canadians. What we know is that it's important for Canadians to be able to hear, and that's exactly why the Justice Committee sat down. They have members from both sides of the aisle on committee. They set parameters, and within those parameters, they asked the former Attorney General to appear. For the entire time that the former Attorney General was the Attorney General, the Prime Minister gave unprecedented access to ensure that solicitor-client privilege was waived, as well as cabinet confidence, so that Canadians could hear directly from witnesses. The Justice Committee actually studied this matter over 5 weeks. The Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner is currently studying this matter.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
But, Mr. Speaker, it was the Prime Minister who instructed the Liberal MPs on the Justice and Ethics Committee to shut down the investigation. And you know what? They complied. But now, after we've heard the tapes, just yesterday, guess who said he's got more information to give? Gerald Butts. It is clear there is much more to this scandal. There is more information, and it comes right from the Prime Minister and from his office. So, Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister allow his Liberal MPs on the Justice Committee to reopen this important investigation?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Members that sit on the Justice Committee will make those decisions for themselves. What's clear is by having submissions to committee that the system actually does work. So when the former Attorney General was at committee and testified that the rule of law in Canada is intact, that Canadians can have confidence in their institutions, this once again proves that the work that committees do will continue to function. So the former Attorney General was able to submit new information, as were others, and I think it's important that they get to do their important work. Let's not undermine the work of our institutions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Richmond, Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, for nearly 2 months, the PM's interference scandal and his office has dragged on. On day one, he denied this whole true story, and then he changed his version of events every week. Since Friday, we have an audio recording and written recordings that clearly confirm that the PM and his office have interfered, and they tried to cover up this scandal. So what will be the PM's new version of events today, or will he finally tell Canadians the truth? The Honourable House Leader. Mr. Speaker, we always tell Canadians the truth, and that's also true for the members of the Justice Committee and the witnesses. Witnesses came, they testified, and now these facts are all public. It's important for Canadians to have the opportunity to hear for themselves, and that is why the PM waived cabinet confidence so that the witnesses could appear and testify. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member for Richmond Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, the PM refused a public inquiry. He refused to testify at the Justice Committee. He refused that all witnesses involved be able to testify. The Liberals themselves are saying that there was interference. We didn't invent this. The Liberals are sitting right here in this House now, and all we're asking them is to waive solicitor-client privilege so we can hear the whole story. Jerry Butts has other documents to submit, and do we have the whole truth? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, to make sure Canadians can hear the truth, well, that's why we waived cabinet confidence and solicitor-client privilege. Nothing on this file was off limits. What the Justice Committee asked is what they received. And the Conservatives have continued to not listen to what witnesses have said. And on this side of the House, we respect our institutions, and we're going to continue to do so. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Westminster Burnaby.
All that the Prime Minister has said for 2 months has been disproved, and the audio recording was made public on this scandal that involving the Prime Minister. The very principles that underpin our democracy are at stake: the rule of law, the independence of our judiciary, and equality in terms of Canada's institutions. The Prime Minister has lost his credibility. We need a public inquiry. Will the government start one now? The Honourable House Leader. Mr. Speaker, we know that the members sitting on the Justice Committee have studied this file, and the Prime Minister did waive cabinet confidence and solicitor-client privilege so that the former Attorney General could testify. And we know that the committees are doing their work, and we know that the Ethics Commissioner is doing his work, because there's an inquiry underway right now, and we are going to respect their work. But I think that the NDP should know that it's one of their MPs that asked for more documents, and that is exactly why the former AG did give them.
This scandal is not going away. Every day there is fresh evidence that the Prime Minister and his chief advisors misled this House and misled Canadians. And no evidence so far has been as compelling and as devastating to the Prime Minister's case as the audio recording that Canadians heard this weekend. The Prime Minister should stop hiding or trying to talk his way out of this. He needs to do the right thing. Will he come clean with Canadians by calling a public inquiry now?
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Justice Committee sat and they had witnesses appear. At every step, the opposition, including the NDP, said that the committee wouldn't meet, witnesses wouldn't appear. They said that the former Attorney General would not be able to speak and share her story. The Prime Minister waived solicitor-client privilege as well as cabinet confidence to ensure that Canadians could hear everything that they should get to hear, because we believe that that is exactly how it should be. The former minister also confirmed that she had nothing further to offer a formal process. That's within her testimony, and we know that all facts are now on the table. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Disnethi, Miss Snippy, Churchill.